This is a Honda Civic Type-R FN2, and as we tend to do on this channel, we're going to take you through all the common problems, show you the things that tend to go wrong, so you can go out there and buy the very best car possible. Now let's go. So before we even get into what goes wrong with these cars, we need to decide first off what specification you're going to buy. Now there's two big differences, and that was you could get them with something called a GT pack or get cars that didn't have it. Now quite honestly, I would say just avoid the non-GT pack cars because they were so Spartan in terms of specification. Now some of the things you got were auto wipers, auto lights, folding mirrors, dual zone climate. Whereas the non-GT, it didn't even get aircon, it was that Spartan. Now thankfully, it was really quite rare that someone didn't specify that pack when they were new, because it didn't cost that much and it just added so much to the car. Now that we've got the specification set, what do we need to look at in terms of actual problems? Well, here's one that you're definitely going to want to be aware of, and that is to do with the gearbox. Now specifically what happened on these is that the second and third gear synchro meshes could go bad. Now how that manifested itself was you'd be driving along second or third gear and it would suddenly pop out of gear. Now stay tuned for when we get this out on the road, because I'll show you the specifics as to how we can check for that. The next thing is a lot of owners will tell you they get a creaking noise coming from the front end. Now to tell you what that is, the front is made up of various parts of subframe, dirt can get in between those parts of subframe and it starts to make a squeaking kind of groaning noise. Now Honda do have a fix for that. If it annoys you enough, you can go along and get that carried out. Next problem, 2 for 1. The tweeters can tend to fall off the doors. Bit of sticky tape on that and you'll be good to go. Really common, it doesn't break them or harm them, they just fall off and tend to sort of dangle by the wire. Next thing is the mirrors. Now the modules in them can go bad, and when they do, the mirrors either won't fold in at all or will fold extremely slowly. Now that's a real easy fix. Here is the part number that you need for that, and it's about a 5-minute DIY. Drop it in the comments below if you'd like me to send a guide over for that. Next up, let's talk about the famous K20 engine that these came with, just like the EP3. 1 more horsepower in these though, don't forget. Now, as we open this up, quick favour to ask you guys, and that is, if you're enjoying this, please do go ahead and give the video a like so other people can find it as well. Also, we create these buyer's guides for literally every type of car, so if you tend to buy cars sometimes, might be a worthwhile subscribe for you. Anyway, let's get into the K20. Now, pretty bulletproof engine. I'm surprised this has actually still got one fitted. No one's nabbed it to put in some Lotus somewhere. If you keep these things topped up with good quality oil, they'll take any abuse you throw their way. I've seen these running turbochargers, superchargers, double the power, and they put up with the abuse just fine, so no big worries here. Now one thing, and this is maybe a good negotiation point, is that the rocker covers can tend to lose their paint a little bit, just like this is. Now there are services out there that will refinish these for a couple £100, so maybe throw that into the negotiation, keep a bit of money back for yourself. Here's another good negotiation point, valve clearances. Now these are meant to be done every 25,000 miles, but it's often overlooked. So if there's no evidence of it in the service book, again, throw that into the negotiation, save yourself a bit of money so that you can get it done. One proviso on that, make sure the engine doesn't sound too tappety. I'm gonna start this up now, and this is what a healthy K20 with its valve clearances done should sound like. Wait. Oh, hang on. Right, ready? Ready when you are. Let's talk paint and bodywork in general. Now, it's not what you would call perfect from the factory, so chances are you're going to find some stone chips and stuff on there. That's all right. It can sometimes be a good sign that it's not been freshly repainted, having found the wrong side of a bush. But there are a few things you need to check. Namely, rust is starting to take hold on these cars in the last few years. Check around the rear wheel arches, that's a bad area. Along the tops of the doors here on the window rubber, have a good look there. In 2009, when the facelift FN2 came along, they actually changed the rubbers on these to avoid this rust problem, so make sure you check there. And finally, along the top of the windscreen is really common as well. I suspect that's probably why this one has been repainted in black. Now this one is for those of you who are looking specifically at a 2008 car. There was a problem, well it was a recall actually, with this headlight here, the off side or driver's side if you're in the UK. Now the issue was the wiring for it would get snagged on the engine mount, it would tear, and obviously the headlight stopped working. It's a bit of an issue, so it had to be rerouted, rewired, pain in the backside. So check that recall's been carried out. At very least, check that this headlight is okay, especially if it's a 2008 car. Now on that note, you've heard me making reference in this video so far to the facelift in 2009, and that's true enough. A couple of things that changed in 2009, they fitted xenon headlights as standard. Easy to spot a facelift car because it'll have the headlight washer right here. And they also added some extra nice goodies along with that as well. So you got the limited slip diff as standard, along with an aux connection and some other bits and bobs as well. Right, enough talk, let's get it out on the road, experience what it's like. Make sure the one that you're buying, make sure the owner's dog hasn't eaten the key like this one has, that would be a benefit. And as we get into the car, double check these door handles. They look cool, super funky. However, this spaceship bit can sometimes break off, and when it does, it leaves the plastic insert loose. So it really needs to be fixed, to be quite honest. Some people glue them on, doesn't really last, and it's only available to buy as an entire unit. Therefore, it ain't cheap. Anyway, let's go experience the VTEC, yo. So here we are then, hitting the road. What are we looking for? Well, number one thing, listen out for a squeaking or creaking coming from the rear. What that was the piston on the damper. Where it met the seal, it would make a creaking noise. Now this isn't a massive problem. There was a fix from Honda. If you take it in, get that carried out, it might cure it for a little while, but the noise is probably going to come back. In other words, don't sweat it. The reason I bring it up with you is if you are planning on getting it sorted, then again, bring that into the negotiation, save yourself a little bit of money back by pointing that out to the seller. But not a massive deal, you can get it sorted. Now next up, we want to experience that VTEC, yo. I'm not saying that to be a yobbo, I'm saying that because it's quite a good indication as to the health of the engine. If anything isn't right, if it's not up to temperature, if it's low on oil, if there's a problem stored on the ECU, depending on what that problem is, it won't go into the VTEC, which is that step at 5.5 or so thousand RPM, where you get that extra little kick of power and you get that audible change as it moves over to the higher level cam. It's not quite Fast and the Furious NOS, hang on to your seats level, but you do get a little kick and you should feel that. Now steering wise, the FN2 is really sharp. Honestly, tiny amounts of steering input make a big difference, and it's one of the things that I really like about this car, is just that kind of inherent tight feeling that it's got. Now this obviously isn't a review video. If you are interested in seeing that, I'm going to be making that pretty soon, so again, hit the subscribe button and you'll see that pop up. The reason I mention it in this buyer's guide is if the car that you're driving's got any knocks or bangs or feels a bit loose steering wise, there's definitely something up, because take it from me, this car feels great. Now in terms of what's actually wrong there, it could be track rod ends, it could be bushes, really it would need a bit of an inspection on a ramp. But again, you can throw that into the negotiation, say I know something isn't quite right, and save a bit of your budget back to get it put right. Now obviously we spoke about those gearbox problems back at the garage, but now is our opportunity to test that on the test drive. So here's what you want to do. I'm going to annoy the traffic here because I'm slowing down a little bit on the motorway, but we want to go down, let's say third gear, into VTEC, and we're going to go on VTEC, we're going to come off it and watch the gear stick. Make sure it's not trying to jump out of gear, make sure there's not excess movement that might suggest it's not far from jumping out of gear. Yeah, and ultimately what we're saying here is that is the worst case scenario for the synchro, so if it's going to mess up and jump out of gear, it's going to do it then. We want to spot this now, believe me, and not on the drive home. Now the final thing I want to come on to here is clutches. Now, a worn clutch tends to manifest its issues a little bit unusually compared to what we're used to. Typically, you'd see like clutch slip, but to be honest, there's not an awful lot of torque to begin with. So maybe that's why these, the K20 powered EP3s, the FN2s, they don't seem to really suffer from clutch slip. More so, it tends to be that gear changes just become harder and harder. Now, the way in which you can spot this is, again, out in that test drive, get those RPMs up a fair bit and go for a gear change. Now you can see there, it slots right in, nice and easy, no grinding, no untoward noises. I'm not having to force the life out of it to get into gear, it just slips in quite easily. Now make sure that's the case on the one that you're looking at. And again, some people can sometimes confuse that as a gearbox problem. More often than not, if the car's done about 100,000 miles or so, and you're finding high RPM gear changes hard to get it into gear, again, typically first to second, second to third, then chances are the clutch is getting quite tired, probably going to need swapped out sometime soon. And there you have it, you've now got all the tips you need to go off and find yourself a brilliant FN2. If you've got any questions, as ever, drop them in the comments section below, but don't click off this video just yet. Hang on and see what this car scores on our reliability leaderboard. So the Honda Civic Type-R FN2, how do we rate it on our reliability leaderboard? Well, it was always going to be kind of high, wasn't it? The thing's essentially a benchmark of reliability. Granted, there are a few problems, however, most are trivial, and for that reason, we rate it an absolutely huge 9 out of 10. Now, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.